he worked with in his carpentry business. Lines of tension radiated from his brown eyes, making him look older than the 32 she knew him to be. His work-hardened hands tightened on the objects he grasped, small wooden stakes, sharpened to points. He cleared his throat, as if not sure what to say to her now that they were face to face. "How are you? And the young ones?"
"I'm well."
Except that her heart twisted with pain at the sight of him, at the reminder he brought of all she had lost.
"The kinder also. Mary is napping, and Leah Glick took Joseph and Becky to a birthday luncheon the scholars are having for Mary Yoder."
Gut. Gut. He moved a step closer to her, and she realized that his left leg was still stiff, a daily reminder for him, probably, of the accident. For an instant, the scene she'd imagined so many times flashed yet again through her mind, stealing her breath away. She seemed to see Ezra, high in the rafters of a barn, Gideon below him, the old timbers creaking, then breaking, Ezra falling as the barn collapsed like a house of cards. She gasped a strangled breath, like a fish struggling on the bank of the pond. Revulsion wrung her stomach, and she slammed the door shut on her imagination. She could not let herself think about that, not now. It was not Gideon's fault that she couldn't see him without imagining the accident that had taken Ezra away from them. She had to talk to him sensibly, had to find out what had brought him here, and how she could get him to go away again. She clutched the shawl tighter around her.
"Is there something I can do for you, Gideon?"
"I am here to measure for the greenhouse." She could only stare at him, her mind fumbling to process his words. The greenhouse. The greenhouse Ezra had promised her as a birthday present. That had to be what Gideon meant. "How do you know about the greenhouse?" The words came out unexpectedly harsh. Ezra was gone, and plans for the greenhouse had slipped away too, swamped in the struggle just to get through the days. He blinked, apparently surprised. "You didn't know? Ezra and I went together to buy the materials for your greenhouse. He asked me to build it for you. Now I'm here to start on the work." The revulsion that swept through her was so strong she could barely prevent it from showing on her face. Perhaps he knew anyway. The fine lines around his eyes deepened. "Is there a problem with that?"
"No. I didn't realize that he had asked you. Ezra never said so."
"Perhaps he thought there was no need. I always helped him with carpentry projects." True enough. It wasn't that Ezra couldn't build things with his own hands, but he was far more interested in the crops and the animals. Since his childhood friend Gideon was a carpenter, specializing in building the windmills that had begun to dot the valley, Ezra had depended on him. But that was before. Now the thought of having Gideon around for days while he built the greenhouse that was to have been a gift of love from her husband. No, she couldn't handle that. She couldn't. It was, no doubt about it, a failure on her part, one that she should be taking to the Lord in prayer. "Rachel?" She had been silent too long, and Gideon studied her face with concern. "Was ist letzt? What's the matter?"
"Nothing," she said quickly. "Nothing at all. It's just that I hadn't thought about the greenhouse in months."
Her voice thickened. She couldn't help that. Gideon heard it, of course. A spasm of something that might have been pain crossed his face. "It gave Ezra great pleasure to think about giving it to you." His deep voice seemed choked. She blinked, focusing her gaze on the barn beyond him, willing herself to be calm. Think. What could she say that would not hurt Gideon, but would get him to go away?
I haven't decided what to do about the greenhouse."
As she hadn't decided so many things in the past few months, lost as she'd been in grief.
"Will you give me a little time to think?"
"Of course." But his voice had cooled, as if he knew something of what she was feeling. His gaze was intent on her face, probing for the truth, and all she could think was that she wanted him to leave so that she didn't have to talk about the bittersweet nature of Ezra's last gift to her.